After all this time, it's good to be back. New York City, with its grandeur and everlasting scale, you get a strong sense of patriotism. Looking back over the past 5 years, I thought long about this grandeur and the people of New York. I only hope I've managed to reflect this into what I love, to produce something timeless. I'm a sign writer and reverse glass artist based in Torquay, England. And for the past 40 years, I've lived and breathed sign writing. Much of my passion revolves around turn-of-the-century techniques: glass, decorative mirrors, elegant typography, and ephemera. Alongside this passion, I've dedicated my life to keeping this craft alive by working alongside like-minded people and brands to keep this craft at the forefront of a digital era. Back in the day, the techniques I've learned over the years were the standard. Brilliant cutting, acid etching, glass embossing all gave way to beautiful shop fronts, pubs, gin palaces, and caught the imagination of young apprentices dedicated to following in the footsteps of their talented mentors. In Stroud, Gloucestershire, when I was 14, I found myself captivated by that very same desire. I followed the work of Rick Lawson and Noel Webber, who showed me techniques that I now pass on to others. I had found my calling. With every design, you have to start with your imagination and a pencil. Working alongside Russell Manley, proprietor of Ludlow Blunt, a timeless artisan salon in New York, we both agreed that we wanted something that not only captured the golden age of barbershop emporiums, but also celebrated every skill that I have learnt over the years. This was quite possibly the biggest challenge I've ever faced. You can capture incredible detail using the screen printing process. Combined with hand painting, this technique not only gives an amazing ink contrast, on every pass you also get a unique print, truly making this piece one of a kind. Combining this technique with acid etching, you can bring a sense of depth to the drawings. This French embossing technique from the turn of the century brings the piece alive and adds a beautiful atmosphere to any establishment. Light plays an important role in bringing reverse glass pieces alive. I use brilliant cutting to catch every light refraction from within the glass. Edge cuts, V-cuts and punties. They take time to create, and the patience required is absolutely necessary. The pressures and angles involved have to be precise. One wrong move and you need to start over. Designing the delicate curves and structure of the infamous acanthus leaf brings depth and form to the space around the typography. It brings balance to the composition. Gold and silver leaf play a huge part in what I do as a reverse glass artist. The lightest breeze can cause chaos, the shortest breath, order. Working with something this thin and light can be like a dance. You need to have a harmonious understanding of one another to achieve the best results. From line-drawn faces to coins to the Brooklyn architecture, it was important for me to capture the vintage style of that period. Throughout these etchings, gold and silver would embrace the period of this era. Backing with enamels to lock these precious metals in time, capturing precise details with every brushstroke. Many crafts have disappeared and have been lost through the years. These beautiful, rare techniques are now being shared and taught by artists around the world. You get lost in the moment handcrafting these delicate pieces of art. It gives me a sense of achievement recreating these timeless, ornate period factory buildings which demand precision, dedication and respect. Collectors have begun to appreciate the aesthetic merit in the reverse glass sign, and collecting of old advertising has been evolving for the last 40 years. Reverse glass has much visual appeal, and the most effective form of advertising means to compete for wall space. It was the starving artists of that period who painted the sign entirely by hand. These were the only types of signs deemed attractive enough to hang alongside the splendid trappings of the more palatial saloons. delicate touch of an airbrush produces the finest of detail and precision, which allows me to create the hand-rendered sepia portraits which are built up in layers. It seemed fitting to use an old invented tool from the late 1870s to depict the two faces from that time period. Generations ago, Ludlow and Blunt founded their very first barbershop in the Windsor Arcade, the first mall built in Manhattan. These portraits would become the focal point to this work of art. Add in the late 19th century process of fine Ben-Day dots, a technique of an array of stipple shading in many variations, creates a period and authentic vintage effect to these portraits. I travelled to Brittany in France to see Arron Dart, a master wood craftsman. We both grew up together in Torbay, apprentices of our chosen crafts. It only seemed right for us to work alongside each other. To watch Arron bring my designs to life was truly magical. The American walnut wooden frame was the perfect match to my vision. Arron captured every detail of my illustration, every scroll, every carving to precision. To finish off this bespoke frame, we found a vintage brass timepiece, quite a typical accessory to a decorative mirror of a bygone era. Back home, I wanted to add the finishing touches to Arron's frame. I knew that gold would make it something special. Adhering gold to wood isn't too dissimilar to adding it to glass. Once finished, I was hoping under the right light, the gold would shine from the dark American walnut grain. This part of the process took me back to my apprenticeship training when I was 16. Applying gold leaf to honest boards and ornate mouldings is something you just don't forget when working alongside craftsmen. Gold leaf, the most noble of all metals. Even in the darkest light, it still shines bright. Every side of the piece was important to me, even the unseen back, the bit that may never be seen for decades. I wanted that sense of pride and patriotism I felt in New York. I designed and crafted a brass plaque that would live on, outlasting me long after I'm gone. It was this magic and wonder I get from discovering old pieces of the past. To think someone in the next century might discover and display my work would be truly humbling. The last piece of the puzzle, Mr. Blunt. Once he was in place, the piece could be transported to New York. At that moment, I knew that I had created a slice of history. And I found myself back where it all began. Travelling in the footsteps of New Yorkers, looking up at the skylines, it seemed like my piece would get lost in the mammoth expanse of the city. Something forgotten. But the more I looked, the more I wanted it to be lost. Only that way, when found, it could be recognised as something special. Once the box opened, I was reunited with Mr. Ludlow and Blunt. As a keen collector of vintage barbershop furniture and fittings, Russell Manley did a fantastic job to revive a salon of its era. His attention to detail welcomed my artwork with a sense of authenticity. Regardless of time, barbershops were always a place of gathering. Described as a room of elegant people, it was a place to not only get a haircut and a beard trim, but a shrine to the decorative ornamental interiors of the period. With the help of master engraver Rick Simmons, based in Texas, we created a custom engraved signature to finish off the piece. The only thing left to do now was to bring together all the elements. The moment I looked up, I was reminded of all the long hours, pain and hard work that bled into my piece. 5 years of work, 40 years of being a slave to my passion. As each section came together, it was like that hardship and stress was being erased second by second. Slowly the memories intertwined with beautiful moments of my family, my daughters Hannah, Lauren and Amelia, my wife Melissa, and our friends. I'm David A. Smith. I'm a signwriter, designer, and glass embosser. And this is for you.